Alright, and we're live with the second stream of my database journey. I think that will be fine. Let's go to my channel and find the stream. And that should be actually pretty fast now, right? Yes, that's perfect. Okay, cool. So I swapped the latency, so there's a little bit less delay between the stream and what I'm doing. And I got my tablet out, so I can actually look alongside the chat and see what's going on, so it's easier to reply, because I am working on a single monitor. Alright, so what we want to do is, today we want to do those points, but I am going to remove this SQL parser. Simply because I think that can be done later. We first need to get this out of the way, and then being able to load the config and get the event bus and things like storage and wall mode ready. Yeah, I think that would be key. So, I was thinking, let's save this for now. Yesterday we left off with a working, how's it called? Authentication. Very simple. Going over raw. We should down the line also use CBOR for everything by default, and maybe even remove the raw mode. But for now, I do want to be able to switch between raw and everything else, so it's easier for testing as well, and I can actually see what I do. So yeah, that's it. So we are able to authenticate, and we are able to do things. So what we're going to do is now we're going to test the auth. We did create already functions, right? Yes. So this to-do can be removed because we're going to actually work on it right now. And we're going to see here the server authentication. Let me think. So we do want to have this in place. Cool. We can assert this thing. That should be new in this case. And now we want to send the things up and down. Does that mean we need to create like a very basic client library already? Or would that be another way to do so? I have actually no clue. Okay, for this one, I think I'm gonna ask AI to give me an idea what the options are, because I'm not too familiar with this. I think the client library would be the most wanted option, because you want to use it later as well, right? I want to create a test for the authentication. What are the options to do so? Let's see. I do have way too much open, actually. Docker can be closed. I think Spotify can be closed as well, because the thing is on, right? No, the background stuff is not on. That it runs in the background when you close it. Great. Let's actually quickly change that then for myself. Preferences, I think, and then all the way down, you have a close button should minimize. Yeah. Now we can go back, and now we can close it. Yeah, good. Integrate testing with net HTTP test and a Gorilla's WebSocket client. Okay, so Gorilla WebSocket has also the client that we could use. Unit test the auth logic separately. Okay. I think it's a little bit overkill, but I do think we should do it now all raw inline, and then later move it to something like we create like packages for now, and later I'm going to move to a separate repository, and then we set up something like client or voxeldb client, and then we do it in there. Git keep. And we do that. I think that will be the way. Okay, I'm gonna ask him to write an example. Write a example how to test that code using the Gorilla client. Maybe we can wrap like a little bit already in there. Not sure. Yeah, so it also asserts no error. No error, I think. No error, T error. Yeah, okay, cool. And then that's not used. That's assert nil. Yeah, well, that's the same, I think, right? But I think no error is actually cleaner. Why do I not know about that? Let's just hook that up. Because that's actually nicer, in my opinion. All right, so what we do is we start the HTTP test server, and we grab the server.handle, but we don't have a handle function in there. The server is already started. Dial the WebSocket. Okay. What is it using for that? The Gorilla WebSocket stuff. Okay. And then we need the thing. Right. So that just would be then WebSocket yours. For now, we just hard coded it like this. The same that I think we connect to here. So let's open that and then just drop it in there. We should make this better later down the line. Okay. So that works, I guess. And then we sent the off command. Allows her to process. Okay, that's actually really nasty. Because it does like this. So you create the command, then you write the message, then you expect no error back. I wonder how that works, because if we send a message back, I don't know how it knows if it's an error. Oh, like actual message sending succeeds. And it sleeps 100 millisecond. And then it writes after auth, and it should also have no error. That's weird. But let's just go ahead and make test and see what happens. No, that's true. I've never used it because it's just serving. How was it refused? I think for this stuff, you could use like test containers. Boot up the container first, ensure the container is running, so your application is running, and then you connect to that. But those fancy things I want to dive in later. Maybe just separate episode, and then I just look in how test containers work, because they do look awesome and very useful. You can also boot up things like databases and Redis and whatever the fuck you need in it. So what we now oh no, I really want to test it with the message though. This can be now removed because I don't know. No, let's just keep it there. Okay, it's not able to connect. Oh wait, that's right, because it's not started. We need to start it obviously. So we need to run srv and then srv.start. I remember. But how do you break it down? You also want a stop function in here. Because I do think if the test is done, it or stays running or just crashes. So we might need to create a stop function. All right, let's first see what the test does. Okay, then it passes. But what if I do like this? Then it should not be authenticated, so it should just drop. Yeah, and it's still okay. Okay, this failed because it's already disconnected. Okay, so we write the message, and then we should see actually the answer back from the server. Though, to be honest, I actually think that when you fail to auth, you should be dropped connection. To be honest. Just thinking about it. Because here I do continue, so here we should actually break and kill the connection. So if we are in here and then we do this connected client, yeah, and then it breaks, but then this function should die. Okay, I have no clue how to solve this though. In this test, the client should get back run wrong token, and connection should be killed. How to test that? Because yeah, we actually might want to wrap it soon. All this stuff, because we do believe this, and you might also want to test if it's actually connected by doing something like assertive boolean is true. But how we, oh, I do know how we can assure that. Okay, my whole chat AI thing is broken. So let's see if we could add that. So that's if we're connected to client. Yeah, so we do know like error for testing that. Okay, yeah, nothing runs. So we should go to the, what is it, start. And if this is done, we should just do a log. What do we write here with? Use log or do we slog? So you should do this. And then just say server, yeah, server started. The server started. That should now pop up that message, right? Why doesn't it pop up that message? Listener and then start. Is it because of this thing? But this is already a go routine. And because this one it's just listening, this one never reaches. I get it. I get it. Can you do something like with a callback? Listen and serve callback? Wow, my serve callback. Yeah, so people say just go this, make it a routine, but that's not what I want because then you start this as a routine and then this as a routine, right? I don't know what happens. And it feels a little bit overkill. Oh, but wait, we could do it here, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So that works. And yeah, but still I want to set the server to listening, like it's listening to true. So that doesn't really help me out there. Hmm. I have this functioning GoLang. How can I, after successful listen, Okay, they say this do this manually. Okay, so let's see. They say okay. We have this a listener, I think. So we call this listener. Listen to the server hours. Okay, so that saves this. Okay, and we have the club. Uh, we can do that, and I want and I think that has a no, that's an error. I think right. Yeah. So you drop in this. You format that. It doesn't give an error. For now, that's fine. And then you can put an S. Okay, so yeah. That we could do is listening is a and when we create the server, we set the listening false, obviously. And in this case here, we put it to is listening to true. That makes sense. What's there? And then we put the log over here. Yeah. Does this actually work? I have no clue if that's gonna work. And serve using the listener. Okay. So then we serve using the listener, and you say HTTP serve. Yeah. Okay. So this is basically what happens on the listener serve, and this is the serve part. So that's just a short one. Okay, that's actually pretty nice that we are able to do it like that. Now we could replace this with this, and this is gonna be a problem. Can you do like a format? Slog formatted. Let's Google that. Formatted message. Let's see if we can put something in there. We could always FMT it. Yeah, so they put it as in the thing. So okay, for now we just drop this, make it an FMT dot printf. Let's see what someone writes. Let me quickly do this, else I forget. If the server is started, value variable is listener always is true. Yes, unless the server is not started. Yeah, okay, because it's killed. Right, I see what you mean. Huh. But if you're testing, could you catch that? Because if this now fails, if you use the listen and serve, so if we go back, you would have this dot listen and serve. So you have this. Would that then this will crash, right? Because we had the oh no, it's a fatal log. It was like was it again? Yeah, it was the log fatal thing, and then no handler. If you do this or fatal panics, I assume, yes, it exits with exit code 1. But what would happen here? How can I test that? Oh, wait, actually, I know how to test it. We put up air, so 1337 is already occupied, and then we run the test. Yeah, it passes, but how? Because this should error or exits. So what my thought is if you do it like this. Oh, what? Who? Oh, I had one line too much. If you do it like this and then run the test, what happens then? Then it does error. Oh, because of the was it slog.error? How did I do it again? Slog.any. Yeah. Slog.any. Hmm? Um Yeah, that's what I do here as well. Oh, I forgot a key. Oh, like this. Okay. That would call the server started. And then the address. Cool. Makes sense. And if I now run this, it still passes. Or didn't it? Yeah, it still passes. But how? Because it should not be able to listen, right? It should not be able to listen because it's already in use. Is it really because of the 000? Because that listens to all interfaces? Is that it? No, okay. Or is it because it's never been started? Yeah, but we actually do have now the SRV that is listening. Let's see what that comes out to. Oh, doesn't it print it? Okay. Okay, if I run it like this, does it work? Oh wait, print dot dot server. Ah, here it does error. And it says false. False is earlier called. Yeah, it's because it's a Go routine. But how can we do that? That we're like, well, why is it only, okay, no, never mind. Because this does catch it, and this does not really do anything with that. Then I need to test the logic of the authentication separately, what is fine for now. Makes it easier to test, but then we need to separate that logic. And I do think I'm going to keep this. But I don't know how to pronounce your name, buddy. Oni1, let's call it 1, is right that if you call it, it's always listening is true. But I do want to make something like we could wait for it before it's booted up. Not sure how to make that yet, but that's something I would consider doing. So in that case, we do need to split. We do need to split the logic of authentication. So if the string is off, then we would pass on the message onto a authenticate method. And we are gonna put that, I think, on the server part. Let's actually make it a little bit bigger here. Let's drag this down a bit. And accent this one more because we're doing more here now. So that would mean we've got here the server handle, here to start. So let's say we got a function that does not need to be exposed. Maybe it does. No, because we can just do this, and then we have access to SRV, and then SRV has access to. We do like auth. Well, that's a private. Oh, we can call it from here. Okay, so then we can do auth. So we say, is valid token, and then we could also do the whole authentication logic in here later when we're doing stuff with the actual list of tokens. So that's actually not a bad idea. So this is gonna be this. Only that break is not gonna work. So we do it like this. And I think we move this in here. And then client.write. Do we pass on here the client as well? I do think we do that. So we at least have the message. That's going to be a string. And then we have the client. But we also need to have the MT. Whatever the fuck that was. I still don't know. That would mean we do here like srv.isValid token. And then we put in that. And then we put in the client. And we put in the MT. That integer. And then we could do OK. And then if not OK, we break it. Right? That seems fair to me. So we still need the MT here. So client is then a pointer to the client, I assume. And then the MT is an int. What is client? Yeah, that is that. Why are we? Oh, it's probably because of the return. Right. So then we return a bool because it's authenticated or not, and then we write wrong token and we return false, and in this case we return true because we have the correct token. And that will make it work, I guess, and remove any errors here while running. So now we could say that let's see, is a valid token. Oh shit, we do need like a client then, and the MT is fine. But how can we fake this to ensure? Well, I don't think that's the responsibility of this key function. So we move this here, and if it's not okay, then we write to the client. That means we don't decline and we don't need the MT here anymore. We're only gonna test the message. Oh, well then we're stuck with this. Well, I think that could be actually this. I'm not sure, but it does solve problems for now. Because this will contain later more logic to read that, where's that example, to do that, and then we had the scopes here or something. Not sure how we're gonna manage that, but like that stuff. You could also say us which name the client has been logged in because of the name here. I think that would be viable looking at it now. Right? I think we could do that. So if we do this, okay, that means that if we eat in this, then the assert equal to testing, and then what is it? Thing again. Okay, so false. Okay, now we just remove this, and yeah, we could assert that for good measures, and then run it, and that should. Oh, we do have a failure. Index out of range. Index out of range, which recovered. We actually at the verbose flag? No, we do not. I don't know if that's actually on GoSum. Let's see. Go test some minus help. There's some verbose flag as well. Oh, minus debug. Minus debug. Would that help? I don't know. So this would pass, right? Just for good measures. Yes, okay, this would pass. So then we do this. That would be on the SRV. Do we have something like is equal? Expected is false, and we're testing this. Yeah, that should be fine, right? Is it on this function that because it's empty? No. Okay. Oh, runtime error. Index out of range. 1 with length 1 recovered. Oh, yeah. Right. Because we're not sending auth. And we need to in this case because normally we just... Yeah, okay, cool. Maybe we can even split that. Because the split fails. See? That worked. So... That should be false. And then we then do it again. And then we do it like this. And then we grab that token. That should be okay. Oh, actually, if we do this, that should fail, right? Yeah, fail. Okay, cool. If we do this, we should have everything fine again. Cool. Actually, that debug doesn't really add anything. Let's just remove it. Okay. So we have a very minimalistic testing of auth. Are we gonna make the change message style? I'm not sure about that. Yeah. I think uh yeah, we do want to switch to Seaboard. That makes testing quite hard soon. Especially using like hopscotch and stuff. Because, yeah, you do not have really scripts in hopscotch. I don't think you have scripts in Postman or something as well for WebSocket testing when you send a message. That's also going to be a very difficult task then. So maybe for now we should just leave it and ensure everything else works. And later, when we have more stuff in place, we could actually, and we write our first client, we should be able to deal with that. I think that would be smart. So we now can dive into more things I actually need to learn to see if it makes it work. Because I do know I can make CBOR and do encryption on those messages easily without a problem. That's not a big deal. So we should go into further depth. So for now we remove this to do. Well, let's create here to-do list. To do. Road map to-dos. And then we do CBOR implementation first before we do the encryption. That's not a priority right now. I don't think we might even make it a priority. We should just allow TLS. That might be faster than rolling our own encryption. Rolling that own encryption won't be too hard though, but it's more that it's gonna take time. Yeah, and if this is done, I do want to write to the client that auth was okay. So let's say auth okay. And then maybe we should do here auth fail. Okay, so this is for later. Let's just do it like here. Message styles. Okay, that means we're left now with making the configuration stuff. Okay, so The configuration stuff. What will it hold? And I did saw the tip of someone say just do drawing. Let me see if I can. I will just use the whiteboard thing. How's it called? Let me find a Firefox. Let's see how that thing's got. I don't think that one is free, is it? As well. What are the prices? Okay, we just use Excalibur for now. We don't need to keep this one. Then we just quickly change it to dark mode. And then we should be able to, right? Yes. Okay. So, let me add that to the stream so everyone is able to see my drawing. Let's do some drawing. Some really awful drawing. I should actually just open up something like Affinity Designer or whatever, and then do it there, because now I'm just adding browser sources. You'd also be able to do like switches. I could actually see scene draw. We could actually try it. Give me 1 sec. Give me 1 sec. We could actually make that work, right? Just add like a new thing, make it high quality, 180p. Yes, and then okay, I do want to change I'm getting blind right now. Yeah, like this. And then I'm still getting blind, but whatever. I don't know how to change it again. I forgot about that. But that means if we then now add a window capture for Affinity Designer, and then we capture designer, same executable, we would be having this, meaning we could transform it and we're good to go. Stretch the screen, and then we could remove this and remove this. That should be still the same. Yeah, that looks about right. All right, and this still works? Yeah, okay, cool. So we make this one document setup. We can just make it dark, right? Just grab that. Grab this. No. The other one. Where is it? How's it called? I don't know how it's called, what I'm looking for. Okay, whatever. Does this work? Yeah, that works. That kind of works. That would do fine, right? We could easily just say background. That's what I'm looking for. Transparent. Yes, and then we just drag this in. Up. Up. And then we make this a little color. So let's remove that, and then we make it like dark. Actually, let me just drop it into this one. Perfect. Wow, I don't think you see it on stream. No, you don't. That's really nasty. Okay, that's a little annoying. What happens if you do this? That's a little annoying. Fixed it. Cool. Okay, so for the configuration, what we have is we want, let's do a little thicker, and then we could actually draw. That's a little too thick. Let's put it on 3 and then just get like this. Okay, so what we have is we have the app booting up. So we got the app. My drawings is so bad. The app. And then when the app boots up, we need to have a couple of things in place. I want to place everything in VDB. And I think that will also work on Windows this, because then it will be put on your C drive. And then on Linux it will be put on the root of your disk. I saw a couple, one or two other databases doing this, and I liked it. So I'm going to stick with this. In this, we're going to have a couple things. We're going to have the data folder containing all the databases you create. We're going to have an internal folder that's going to contain the internal databases, essentially the database we're writing, but then with the database files in here. Maybe later for managing users and stuff, well, we will start doing that in the beginning and on the file, in a flat file. We could have it now here. And we're going to have the config.toml. So this is what we're going to do. And it's going to be managed by something called config, I guess. We're going to call it config. Great. That's what we're going to start with now. So yeah. Let's keep that rolling, I think. Let's see what is going to be the best way to do so. I think the best way to do so is go switch over. And then we will go ahead and create, I think, just a config folder. Man, that will be, I think, seems logical. Right. I think so, yeah. So what we are going to do is we're going to create a config.php, not PHP, go. What the heck? And then before we do this is we do config loading. So we just say config. Did we give, oh no, we don't give a package yet. So config. This one. And then we do load. And then later we could override here anything with a flag. So you could do something like a go flag to override it. But let's see first if this works, and then we could do it. So in terms of the default config, we have, let's just start with struct type config is a struct. And to do this, we need the, this one. That's the one I often use. And then we could paste in like things. So we have the example here. Let's drag it in there. Do we get, yes. But now we need to figure out how we're going to arrange this. Yeah, so this is going to be the main config, and then each section gets their own thing. So we will be with server struct. In this case, server struct, and we're not going to deal with the users yet. Actually, we could. Let's just add it already. User. That will make us a server here. That's going to be then a type of the server. And then we do, and then we do this. That's going to be toml. And then with the key in the string, it's going to be server. And then we have this. We also going to do it with this. That's going to be users. And then it's going to be a map with the string. No, wait. Yeah, map, string, and then a user. And then we call this user. So now we're able to parse that. And then we will start with the server. And then we have an address. PHP, yeah, man. At work, I also do PHP and other stuff. I'm switching between like PHP Go and Node on a day. So sometimes I'm getting a little confused here and there. So we hook it up with a toml, and we call it address. And we just copy, no, we don't copy and paste that. Let's see, then we have the port, that's gonna be an int, and we do gonna copy and paste this. I don't want to write it again. Okay, so we have that. And then we want the origins, and we're just gonna make it a string. So let's see, origins, and we're gonna implement this, I think maybe directly. We directly could test it. String, and then do this. That's then origins. Okay, so we have that covered. Then we need one more, and that's gonna be memory. Oh yeah, how am I gonna do that? So what my thought process were, let's go back here. Let's quickly lock this one. I think if I now go to that and then do this. Okay, so what my thought process is, if when you boot, wow, beautiful drawing. When you boot the app, no, that's not handy. Well, as I would say, then you load in the whole database into memory if it fits within the memory size of your machine. So let's say we by default take 75% of the whole database of the whole RAM available. So if you have 100 gigs, you pick 75 gigs. And then you load, if your database is 50 gigs, it fits in the 75, so you load the whole 50 gigs into memory for faster querying and all that kind of good stuff. But if you have multiple databases, it adds up quickly, though it could be a cool feature. Maybe we could do it in something like, but we're not going to implement it in a now, features dot, no. We just make it like memory, and then you say like enable is true, and then max memory is like 24.0 gigabyte or whatever we do, 24 GB in a string, obviously, like this. And then if the database fits in that, you can also use memory to load it in there, so the disk is only for persistence between restarts, but everything else is going to memory. And then you fully operate out of memory, and you still have the wall to write it to disk now and then. But then you have even faster and snappier querying, as well as inserts as reads. But that's going to be a difficult one. So we could make that later a thing. So for now, we're just going to leave it out, and we're just going to deal with this. And then for now, we could just directly add the token string here, and then do, this. Token. And then the scopes we'll leave out for now. So we're going to deal with this, I think. Yes, I think this is going to be it. Though, yeah, my video card is doing so weird now. I do think I want to make the config a singleton. So we're going to set up a var. Do I like it like this? But then I should also do the types. That's really my feeling. Yeah, let's do it. I actually kind of like it, but I always forget I can do it. And then suddenly it pops up in my head. So like this. I think I like that. You can also then hide all your types. Yeah, that's actually pretty nice. So you have a var, and that would be the instance, I guess. And then we point it to a config. And then we just, how do we call it? Config.get. Yeah, that's actually pretty nice. So we call get. And get will always return a config. Maybe even an error if it fails. Yeah, maybe. Was there something in sync you could do something once? Sync dot once? Ah, yeah, it actually is. That's pretty cool. Maybe we could just do that. So how would that be? Once dot. So we need to then make it like once is in sync dot once. Then once dot, okay, do. That's going to be a function. The F can be removed. That's really nasty from this editor. And then here we return the instance. So that's going to be good. And this means we are going to do everything that is needed. And actually, what am I doing? It should be this. Okay, so what we need to do is ensure folder struct. Then we need to um, load and or create default. And then we create the instance. So we parse it, right? And then we still want the reload feature, but that's going to be a thing for later on. Yeah. We need to say here then, like, we need to deal with. So, okay, so folder structure. I actually recently made that for something. I cannot remember where I did that. Actually, it might have been in my other ambitious project that I might do later. It's like an micro VM thingy. How did I approach it there? Let me quickly check. So this way you keep improving, right? This is not the right one. Let's see. Let's open that one. Open folder and then virtual it. Yeah, open up. That's actually the code is all partially available. Yeah. Okay. So I created this in that one. So that's like this, I guess, and then keep that. And you could see that on GitHub already, that code. Partially. I should actually update the bio. So that's going to be then VDB or VoxDB. I think it would be better. So we need VoxDB. Then we need VoxDB data. And then we need VoxDB internal. And that's fine for now because these are the directories. And I had a function, ensure dict. That's OS setting. Yes. Okay, cool. So now we had this one. And then I just looped over all that stuff by ranging it. And then we just create it. So that was like this. Yeah, but this is the one that should be overwritten. So now we should have a base, I think. And this is going to be the base. So, yeah, but I need to pass it in with get every time. That's annoying. That's really annoying. Or should just... Nah, I don't know. To be honest, I'm not sure what I'm doing. Well, I do know what I'm doing, but I don't know how I want to structure it right now. Let's for now deal with this. We could always do that later. Let's do an S-log because it was also an S-log, I remember. Yeah. If we catch an error here. Oh, is my stream lagging? No, okay, it works again. It was buffering for a bit. Do I have anything dropped? No, I do not have anything dropped in terms of frames or whatever. Is my GPU still fine? Oh yeah, the bad boy is running good. All right. So, how to handle it, and then we do created. No, because it doesn't mean it's created. It means it is existing or created. So you might want to make like a sort of enum out of this. So let's do now, for now, make it an enum and then add a comment. Error as enum. There created, there failed, or there exists. Yeah, I think that will be fine. So what we now do is we now do and ensure we have this. Um, if they're not created, server error and exit. Yeah, because it's important file, so you might want to exit it then. You're right. But that will fatal do, right? Yeah, followed by call to OS exit 1. So that we should actually do nothing with this. And maybe we can make it an S-log as well for... We are running that everywhere. Can we do like... Does the error do that? No. Okay, so we should actually exit then. S-log error and then os.exit. With 1. And then we just do like... S-log dot. Any... S-log dot. Then error. Are you using web server, not HTTP server? Are you? Yes, I am using WebSockets. The reason why I decided on that yesterday, HTTP has the HTTP overhead. So then I was like, okay, then we can use TCP because that has not the HTTP overhead, and especially if you want to do high concurrency, you know, TCP of HTTP is going to add up, so TCP would win there. But then I was like, I want to make easy clients for any language, and most of the languages support WebSockets. And one of the features I do really want to include in this database server is real-time events. So I don't know if you have seen this. I do think I saw your name in the stream yesterday, but then I didn't have the chat open yet. So what I want to do is each client, but also the server itself, could do something like, and we might even get to that today, event bus.on. And then we have the server event. So we have event record create. And then you could specify, I did list yesterday like a table here, but maybe you could do like this and then say you want to listen to a table and then put in like the users table. So when a new record is created, the users table, any client could listen to that and act on it. So that's the reason why I decided on WebSockets, because that's easy to support on most languages, especially on things like Node, Go, and also even PHP if you really want to. So yeah, we're going to use WebSockets for it because of that. And therefore, I decided to go with the Gorilla WebSocket. So let's do like a func and then call this func. And we still need to test this stuff as well. Create and load config. I think that would do fine. No problem, man. Feel free to ask, suggest, do whatever you want. I'm always up for a chat. So yes. Let's see how we're gonna tackle this one. Because I do not have an ID yet. Okay, so we need to OS stat. Okay, so we have done this. And then we want the config. So that's actually the instance already. Ish. So you do like error config is then load and the config, and that's going to be on the path slash I need to do something on these hard codes, boxdb and then config.toml. That's going to be that. And if that fails again, we're going to do this again. So if the error is not nil, then we quit it. Else, we can just easily say instance is config. Right? So that means that this one is going to return an error or a config thing. And then we have here the path for now. So that means we're good in going for loading it. Meaning we should do something. with the OS stat like we do with the directories. And then let's see if it does not exist. Okay, so let me do the toml thing. I think that's toml decode, right? Yeah, okay, so toml, and then you decode it. And that would be then the var config. So let's call it CFG and then config. Right? And then the toml parses. Wait, does it parse directly into the object? Yeah, I do think so. How does it work again? Yeah, so we need this one here. And we do that on the path. And then if it does not exist, argument does not exist. I think that's fine. Yeah, so if the OS stat throws an error, the file does not exist, like how we did the ensure there, then we're gonna do and create the default config. If it does exist, we're gonna deal with that because that means we could read that file, and then we could actually use this one with the path and put it into CFG, and I think that has to be by pointer because it's gonna adjust everything what's in there. And then we could actually return nil and then the config here. And that has to be then I do catch myself writing the error first before everything else. But I do think the standard in Go is flipping that, right? Or not? I keep doing this, but I think it's different. The first listener and then the error. But I'm not sure about that, to be honest. Roadmaps to do. We now do error result isn't go result error. Check and refactor. Yeah, so we need to dereference into a pointer. And I think the decode file could also throw an error. So, yeah, here it's also the other way around. We're not going to use that metadata. We are going to use the error. And error is already assigned, so I think we could just do it like this. So if, what did we do here? Let's do it like this. Boop. No? Okay. Sure. I think that works. So here if the file does not exist, we will create a default config. And let's stay in the lane of CFG then. And then we do this, yes, config. That's going to be a struct. And then just hook up everything that we want in the right order, I think. I like to do it. So address port origins, like I did it there. There's going to be address server. Oh, wait, that's possible? Wow. Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Anyway, we want localhost. And then we want the port there. And let's do... I want to be... 4007 is going to be the default port. I just decided. And then the origins is going to be... let's say localhost for now. Let's see if that is enough. Okay, so with that, and then we need the users is going to be an empty thing. That's by default. You need to just set it up yourself. Or do we do an example in there? That like this, rude. Then the user, right? And then we add in a token. That's gonna be voxeldb for now. And you need to do it like this. Okay, so that's gonna be our default config for now. And then we're going to do create. OS create. I think that's it. And that's also doing file error, result error. Yeah, so file error. And then that's going to be the path. And if that fails, we drop in this. We should make a shorthand for it, like check. I actually might do that. Call it a support class. Do like support.check and then drop it in there. And then call it check fatal. We're using it so often that we can just replace all those 3 lines with a single line. And have that logic shared anywhere. So if I'm ever going to refactor this, we just refactor one place. I actually might do that soon. Okay, so now we have the file opened. So we defer the file.close. So if the function ends, we close the file handler. And that means we can use the toml and then we encode it, right? Because decoding is reading, so now we encode it. Encode. What's the difference between encoder? I think we need that one, right? Because we're writing it to a file. So if we say file dot encode, what is any? Any is what we're gonna encode. Okay, cool. And then an error. Okay, so and then we do this again. And we can do it like this. And then in this case, we could I think we could just return it right then. So we say CFG and then okay, we flipped it around. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna read your message in a second. For file system operations, better way, create a helper. Later you write reading data in a file. Use a helper for that. Solid. Also for this operation, for just writing a file once, that's already enclosed within the config. Mainly I want to create a helper for this. For the error handling. To make it like let's say support, because I hate utils. And then do like a check fatal error. Actually, we're just gonna drop it in there. So I wait for your reply. Do I also do that for just this file operation? Because this way of creating a file is only done once in the whole app. Because the storage engine for actually storing the database data will be done with a completely different way. Probably also writing it to binary and maybe serial or compressing it or whatever. So let me know. I'm actually quite interested in your take on that. Let's call this then check.go. And then package support, and then we make a function. Let's see how I do it here. Let's just copy this blatantly. And then we say func check fatal. And then we do error. That's an error. At least, is it an error? Because that can be, because a pointer can be nil, right? So that should be the way to go. Let's say. Okay, maybe not. Maybe this should be it. Yeah, okay, that should be it. That means we can replace all those ones. Here we got one. Here we got one. And we still could add like a message field for that though. Okay, that one is not really possible with the current setup. Just for now, okay, actually, let me just refactor that. Ensure there. And then check fatal. We quit then anyway, so we can do it like this, right? This actually might have done already something because it was just running on the background. Let's see my C drive. I'm not gonna share this. I thought it would be created on C if you do that. Let's actually just restart it and see what happens. Ah, there we go. Config.load. Yeah, true, because it's config.get. Okay, so I did not do anything. Now it does do anything. Read. It should have been ready. Or does it do it on the disk I'm on? Yeah, okay. It takes then the disk that you're on. So this is on my D drive, my data drive. And there we have actually the whole folder structure. I don't know if I can add folder to the project. Yes. Okay, let me see how I can do that without exposing everything on the disk. I think like this. Yes. Okay, so boop. There we go. Can we actually rename that now? Oh, well, it's already clear. Yo, Delano. What up, buddy? Oh, that's an interesting way of formatting that stuff. But that's fine. Okay, so that works. We created the config stuff. Meaning we could update our README at the config stuff. And we're left with the bus. But first, we are going to check the config test today. And how are we going to set that up? Let's see. Would be nice if you could add like a how's that called? A virtual disk. So if you're testing it on my system, then I also want to run it at some point with the same config. You're not deleting everything that was on there. Hmm. I'm quickly. Okay, they recommend then to just jump into temp folder. Okay, so if we are going to do things like temp folder and stuff, we are actually required to implement like a package override thing. So I think we are going to look into that. In the meantime, I'm quickly hooking up this stuff. Papa. And then we do test folder structure. And for now, we keep this in. Let's actually fine. What do you mean? Oh, that's the thing breaking again. It's not too bad. Okay, so we do need to be able to overwrite this. That means we could remove this. We could... Okay, let's stop it for now before it starts making things. This. And then we want to do like a config.set or something. And then we just put it in there. So we say voxdb. Let me clear the contents of that one. Like this. We can see if that's created. So func that base string base path slash voxdb. That's better. And we just say base path is base. Then here we can make a flag with a default value, so it's always voxb by default. What is that? File path is the package. Okay. Go get a dear destination. Drop it in there. Put it to ready. And here we do okay, nothing else here is hard-coded red. I don't think so. So we can just run it. Can I refresh this? Or let me actually check on my... Yep, okay. On the disk itself, it's created, but the browser did not refresh properly. If I do now, like, test. Wow, okay. It caches it or something. That's cool. Even that I removed... Oh, that it does. Okay, cool. Whatever. It did work, though. Trust me on that one. Can I just do F5? No, okay, that doesn't do stuff. Okay, so that did work. We could pass down the stuff there. That means we are having a setup to test now. So that's a good one. Okay, so how we're going to do this is we're going to do a before all, and there are no actual hooks for that. There's a func before all. And then we set up a function after all of before and after. Let's just call it like that. And maybe I prefixed it with an underscore, even though it's awful. But then I do know it's like a extra and hooky like thing. Okay, so and then here we do the testing logic. And this is gonna give us a dir, I think, and then just make it a temp directory. Right. Because it's gonna do a os dot. I think there's literally an os dot remove all. Yeah, here, boom. Path. Okay, so let's see. I actually could boot up Firefox and then let's do another fake. Let's duplicate this one and call this scene browser. And then we remove this window capture. Oh. And what we then do is show that one. And we transform this. We could actually do that. Okay, so now we could say GoLang. Let's see. Create random temp there. Um, I think that would be fine. So that's gonna be like this. But then we wanted a deer, so I think it's like MK deer temp. Deer pattern. Okay. Sure. Okay, cool. And this is gonna be an exit. Oh, exit.new. Exit.new. And we call this the temp ID. And then we get the temp ID. Make this a string. And it's gonna be path. So we take in the path as a string. That will be fine. And then we take here the path. And then we drop it in here. And then we create that, and then for now, if the error is not nil, we just os.exit one. Okay. Temp destination. And we just return that one, I think. Is that a string, actually? Yes. So we return a string. Okay, so now we have that set up. Okay, so we create it and we clean it. And we... Yeah, that's fine. Let's see what we can do with this. How long are we streaming for, actually? An hour and a half. We're almost longer than yesterday. So now we are actually able to test this code, right? That means we can just run set and say path. So that's now been set. And then, why not use? Ooh, instead of set, that's actually pretty fucking neat. We're gonna make it use. That's really nice. That's a good suggestion, man. That's clean. Boom. We can drop that server for now, but because we're gonna run tests. Okay, so we use the path. And now we could also call this like config path. Wow. That's actually really nice. That's clean. I like it. So now we can do the assert and stuff, right? No, because we first need to do the get. And we could call this CFG for now. And then we can test the values as well. What we do is we do first we assert. Ooh, what? There exists. Test, and then the path is gonna be the config path. Config path. Okay. And that means, can you do like this as well? Wait, how did we do that in the other test? Ooh, yeah, okay. So if that, then we can also do like config path data. And we should be dealing with internal then. Yeah. Internal. We could even make this file path join. Let's do that for nice looking. Okay, so file path dot join. And then we can separate that like this, and then we can do like this internal. So if that's done, we can do the assert again on file exists on the test, and then it's gonna be this with the config.toml. And if that exists, well, probably is because we wrote some decent code, we can do some asserts because we are aware that this is going to be the default one. So we could say an equal, and then we expect, what did we do? Yeah, we're going with localhost there as well. So localhost, and then the actual cfg.server.address. And then we make the test, and then hope it succeeds. Oh, yeah, we need to edit the thing. So we need to there, and then do this, and then run the test. There we go. Everything just works out fine. That's perfect. And then we could also assert the port to be, was it 4000 something? We decided on 4007. 4007. And then run it again. And if I now test the test, make this, it should fail, right? Just to be sure. Yes, okay, cool. So that works out perfect. We also could test the users, but I do think this is a good enough test now. So let's do some git ads for this moment, and they're really awful. And how did yesterday I did just do stream #1, but we do stream 2, and then dash it with like what we did. So config mainly. We mainly did the config, so that's the real feature, and the surroundings. So let's do it like this now. Then we could later do also the other stuff. Okay, so now we're going to think about the more interesting stuff. And let's get back to our what's it called? Drawing board. So let's switch back to that one. That one. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the event bus. And the event bus is going to be firing and listening to events back and forth. Meaning we have the, let's draw, what is it? P pencil. Okay, so we got the EB, also known as the event bus. And when we, for example, create a record, let's say rec, is going to the event bus. So it's going to emit an event. And then the event bus has listeners. So one listener, is going to be the sockets. So all the client sockets, because if the event bus gets a create record, the client sockets will listen to it, each of them, and if they receive a message from the event bus that fits their needs, it's going to emit it further, to the client. Okay, sure. Okay, so we create a record, we emit it to the bus, the event bus. The event bus figures out who wants to know that event is fired, send that message through the listeners, so it's actually still an emit, so you should see it like, oh wait, you should like this, so bup 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 bup, and then we could say this is gone. So that listens to it, and that's just the listener, and then forwards that message to what's listening, for example, all the client sockets, and then emits that message further down to the client, so the client could act on another client, for example, making a new record. Right? That's going to be for inserts and deletes at first, and maybe some other features, but we're gonna start it for inserts and deletes. And we could also make like an internal event bus, so we could also reuse that thing to actually do some other cool stuff with it. What? I don't know yet, but we could use it. So that's what we are gonna do. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So let's go back to the editor and see what we could do with that. And now we're gonna set that up. Let's clean, close. I mean, all those things. And I think we just gonna call it event bus or bus. And I think if we have the event bus, we should actually take a look at the storage engine, so the engine and the wall, so the write ahead log. But let's see. My graphics card is doing weird again. I should really reinstall my computer. All right, so we're gonna call it bus, I think. And we make it a new file. Yeah, new file bus.go. Hello, editor. Bus.go. Did it create it? Let me quickly reboot the editor. There we go. Cool. So we have the bus, because it did create the file. And here is what we are gonna start with. We're gonna definitely have some types. And I do think we're gonna, let's see. What could we do more? So when you're sending out a message over the bus, are we gonna call it a message or an event? I just called it event bus build-up times, but now I call it bus. You could also call it the best message bus, because essentially you're sending up and down messages that might be an event. Because an insert or delete is an event, but if you're gonna do other stuff, it might not necessarily be an event anymore. So let's just call it message, and then we call it a struct, and we should see how we're gonna deal with that. I think we're gonna call something like metadata, so we have a little bit more flexibility. So that we could name this an action, maybe. And then metadata could have anything, but we should yeah. For example, if it's an insert or delete, it will be like there will be a table. But if it's like an internal message or something else that we might implementing, for example, we might fire metrics over the message bus, and then the message bus has listeners that sends it to a Grafana, or you could read it out from an API that it could read it from, or something like that. So I'm not really sure how we're going to respond to that. So we have the action. For example, if we do like a type bus action, it's gonna be a string, and then we have the const stuff again, where we have like a bus record create. That's gonna be a bus action. It's gonna be a bus record create. You do something like that. we do then like record create like this, right? So then we could switch this to this. Yeah. I think the message buzz itself should be like a channel thing. So we also have like the buzz itself. And I think that should have a lock, right? And what is the subscriber? Or wait, is the... Because if you use a channel, you can put messages in the channel, read out of the channel with a for loop. So is the subscriber a channel? Hey, but what if you have a lot of the subscribers? Nah, I don't know yet. Okay, maybe we just start off with this as like a base concept, and then for now we just add a payload or something and make it a string. Or it's gonna be binary data. That's gonna be the string, and maybe we can make that string a buzz payload. And then we have a buzz record create, but we could also do like a buzz payload table. And then say it's a buzz payload with a table. So then you would have something like the payload is going to be like the payload, and then the table is the table name. So that's going to be the payload. For example, users. And then that has, the payload also has a key that's called the record. And that's going to be the record out of the database you put in. And then you could put a payload. Something. Sent at. That might not be the record time of the payload, but then at least we already have for each message a timestamp to deal with. That might actually be really cool. And we could test that with already the SQL portion for v-tests. So we already have that going on that we want to do today as well. So we could do that tomorrow or whenever I'm going to do the next stream. Maybe Saturday. And I will probably work a little bit in between on some stuff. Cleaning up the errors and so. So that might actually be a really good idea. I think that could be ending up very clean. Okay, so let's do first the buzz, and then instead of calling this like something like a mutex or whatever, we just implement it directly into the buzz. There are we mutex. So we can directly do buzz.lock. Right? And then we need a new function, new buzz, and that's going to return a buzz for sure. And then we return a new buzz. That's going to be a struct. And that's fine. Then we need to be able to send down a message to that bus. How are we going to make this publicly available? Because it's going to be the main database bus that we're writing. But it almost should be a singleton. But I don't want to make it singleton because I will be able to create more buses if we need it later. So I'm not sure I'm going to pass this around later. Or we could do like a bus and then create an event bus in there. Like do for an internal bus and then use that as singleton. That's actually a good idea, I think. So you have like bus, and then you get the bus implementation, and then you have everything else. But then we need to know who is subscribed. So we need to have a subscriber list, like we have a clients list on the WebSocket. So, sub, I think we could actually internal subscribers. And that will be a map of a string. No, not a string, a bus action, because that's where you subscribe to. And then you become, that one has multiple subscribers. And then the subscribers is a channel where we can send messages in. Subscriber. So I think we could just easily do this like subscriber. And then type subscriber is a channel event. No, because it's going to be a message. So that's going to be a message. So the subscriber is a channel that has messages sent over. The message struct to be exact. So that's going to be perfect. Okay. And then we do need to make it. Perfect. And we need to make it. Why doesn't it make? Oh, it didn't put make. Like this. Alright, so then we need a couple of things. We need to have a subscribe function, a publish function, and I think also an unsubscribe. Right? Okay. Okay, so this is going to be a lock action, right? Because we're going to lock, we're going to publish it. You do not want to have any reads. Read lock. And then we the B dot unlock. Right? So we haven't. Oh, I do think we need to call it like this then. Only read locking. Is this the index? So we don't have an index because we're doing like a subscriber and then we do it in the range of the B subscribers bus of the action. And then we this. I do see people also using selects for it, but why? Might be able to ask ChatGPT why. I've seen that before. GoLang, what is the difference between and Let's switch to the thing. Ah, okay. Present the event to each channel non-blockingly. The select with default clause means if the channel is ready, it sends. If it's not, skips that subscriber without blocking. Usually when you want to avoid blocking, inputs are acceptable. Or they shouldn't affect others. Well, I do agree with this. Um, okay, so in case of the select, not sure how it now works, but I think that's what we need because we're looking for high throughput here. So we should set up the select and then make it a case. So, I think then the case ensures that it's available, and then the default ensures that if the case is not available, we fall directly back to default. So we just continue. It's a success. That's a long waited or not available channel. Oh, I did it. That's actually pretty cool. Okay, so we made the publish. Now we need to get and see how we're gonna deal with this crap. You subscribe at least to Buzz Action and you say you're a subscriber, right? Or do you become then a subscriber? That you get like a subscriber back. So you say, okay, I'm subscribing to this, and then this is you, a subscriber. And then you can listen to that from that on. Because this code is inserting a new subscriber into. Yeah, I thought that would be. Hmm. Channels you need to make. At this point, we're going to do something within the bus. So then we need to say the bus.lock. I think we need to lock everything. And then we defer a full unlock when this code is done. That means we now are able to fiddle with the subscribers because no one else is actually dealing with data in there because we're on a lock. And then we can say, I think that's going to be the subscriber. Meaning we could return that subscriber. Oh, it's an array, so we need to append it. And then the So we create a bus test. Oh. We want to create a subscription, I think, and then we're going to publish that, right? A subscription. A bus dot subscribe to a bus action. That's going to be bus record create for now. Okay, now we have our subscription to that. And then we need to publish it and fire it off. And then I think I'm going to stop for now. Because then we're almost busy for 2 hours and we got like 80%, 70% through the whole, what is it called? Event bus. So we're going to just finish this function and then we're going. Okay, so now we need to create a new message, I think. So we're going to test a message. That's going to be a message. And that's going to be an action. I fucked up here. I fucked up here. I made a thinking issue. I don't know what, but I do made a thinking issue. So we're just gonna make a payload for now, I think. And then do like a byte of what payload is a mapping thing, so I think gonna be a map of string and then byte. Then we say table is users. Okay, and then we need to publish this one. The only thing is, can we then also do the receive there? Receive. Okay, like sub. A subscription. We're gonna just check that. Let's do now fmt dot print line and do like receive. I have no clue if this is gonna work. Let's do now a go test and then just the bus. I don't think that works. All right, that's a thing for tomorrow, or no, another day. Maybe I just show this around with in my other time, and then I'll show you the result. Thanks for watching through this stream. Thanks for your suggestions. Hope to see you next time, and hopefully I'll be smart enough to finish this project and also fix this shit because I messed up the thinking process there. See you guys later. Bye.